And the way I see it is, remember that reality shows that we see on TV, like, something happening like the Big Brother or some of these shows.
Yeah.
Now everybody's life became a reality show like that on social media.
Right.
And they have the tools to talk about what they're doing. They're building their own brand and own persona and creating these audiences who go crazy for them. And, is there a substance to it? Nothing. But if they introduce a product, it sells. I have two examples there. I don't know if you know the Prime drinks.
Welcome to the Business Ownership Podcast, brought to you by Awareness Strategies, helping you navigate the waters between entrepreneurship and ownership. Hey there, peeps. This is Michelle Nedelec, and I'm super glad that you're here with us today because I'm here with my most amazing guest, Krishna. Krishna, thank you so much for being here with us today.
Thank you so much, Michelle. Thanks for having me.
Awesome. So give us a highlight of who you are and what you do for business.
I'm Krishna Lakkineni, CEO of ROI MediaWorks. We help businesses with their digital marketing technologies, and have been doing that for almost 15 years. And last couple of years, I ventured into mindset coaching for business owners, basically helping them through that midlife crisis, 5-year, 7-year mark. I don't know if my business is going to survive, so I'm Chief Mindset Monk at Mindset Monk.
Very cool. So how did you get into the mindset side of things? How did that shift happen?
There's always the core values, right? Like, there are certain core values. We are who we are as a person, whether you apply in a personal life or in business. And a lot of them get into business to make money for whatever reasons. But when you don't have the core values aligned, you won't enjoy what you're doing. So how do you bring the joy and happiness out of the business that you're running? You get out of the bed every day and let's get it going, right? Like, I'm helping this client, or I'm working on this proposal, or I'm learning this new technology. That curiosity and enthusiasm kind of wanes out, as you get into entrepreneurship in your 7-year plus mark. And I realized that a lot of businesses that we work with during COVID, they either folded, or I'm like, I've done enough. I don't have any more passion towards this. So I'm like, these are good businesses, right? Into 6-7 figures, they're just kind of folding, not even thinking about okay, I can transition over, because they haven't built that process. And mostly they're like mom and pop shops, right? So I need to do something about it, because creating a business and anything around entrepreneurship, it's hard. It's not for everybody. And there are some people put their time and love and efforts into it. So how do I survive that, right? Help them through that process.
I love that. And it breaks my heart when people just walk away from their businesses, especially when they've been around for years. It's like, well, but you've got it all you have to do. And then no, I'm done.
Yeah, especially with COVID, it's very stressful in different fronts, right? So
yeah, and it makes it doubly difficult when the government's against you. They kind of are bigger and they tend to win. So talk to me about the core values, and what are some of them or all of them, and how did they help or hinder in business?
For me personally, what I discovered is we all go through that midlife crisis. For me, it came in the form of divorce back in 2016, 17. And I was pretty much everything's settled in, my house is going to pay off, and I'm going to retire by 45 and do a lot of more nonprofit, and then just everything crushed down. And then I, connected back to my roots. I was born in India, and it's always been that spiritual side there. But once you're westernized, you forget some of these things. And then I was like, what went wrong? And then I went back, introspection, and start looking at some of my emotions around that time, from the egoistic, I know everything, I got hold of my anger or whatever, right? There's things that we say we didn't mean to because we're angry. How did that happen? And that poked my curiosity at the mind level in terms of how our brain works. So I start kind of trying to understand the neuroplasticity of the brain, and then also connecting to my spirituality. So what I realized is the emotions that we trigger, they're always there, but at what capacity, how we're triggering, it's almost like the frequency go up, go down. But what kind of practice you have in place, so you're recognizing that thought, you're cutting it off, or you're processing it so it's not repeating. And over the time, what I realized is it was the gratitude, forgiveness, love, kindness, and compassion and empathy for people. And that's my underlying core values. No matter what I do, like whether I'm working with a person or dealing with a business, I look at it like what kind of business person he is or she is. And I'm just using the pronouns there, but just referring to what kind of business they operate. Because at the end of the day, every business employs people, whether they're working for themselves or they're working with the vendors, they're working with the partners. It's almost like a huge web of things that's kind of rolling through the actions that we're taking. Whether you buy, sign up for a software project, okay, you're buying the vendors and you're encouraging that economy and economic flow. And when you have employees, you're basically responsible for the wages, the family is depending on you. So it's all nurturing and at a business level, but it all falls down to how much I love what I do in my life.
Cool. So when somebody's looking at kind of the business where it's at right now, how do those attributes help them to navigate the waters of business? Because a lot of people go, yeah, this is business, and love and happiness and all those things you said are awesome, but I need to make payroll, I need to market this, I need to come up with some content, I need to put out, like, how does it feed that business side of things?
It's I'll use this example. It's business is like a career, a job on its own, but also it's kind of love attachment. The love attachment, we just can't let it go because it's there. You had to deal with it, right?
Right.
So with the business, it works both ways. How many times we saw like co-employees coming to work like really grumpy, just kind of swearing at everybody. That kind of stuff happens too, because they're bringing whatever happening at home to work. And also as business owners, we go home one day, damn it, I got to do the payroll. I'm looking for this money. There's no cash flow. What I'm going to do? And then you're kind of screaming at your kids or wife, whatever. So it just happens both ways. But how do you bring those emotions down and how do you control that? And it all going back to being compassionate with yourself, being kind to yourself, but also at the business level, have a proper planning. So do you have that 6 to 12 months cash flow chart, right? It's just tells you you're not ready in 3 months time. So what are the actions that you're taking in now, right? I always use that Stephen Covey's like, the 4 quadrants, like put it in the quadrant 2, before it burns, before it's urgent, you just take action right away. So you're not living in the future and thinking and stressing it out because you already are ready and prepared for it. And that's kind of one example but that happens at every level. So from my experience, a lot of business owners, they're really good at entrepreneurship, but have no clue with the technology, no clue with the innovation, or even finances or HR, right? I have seen businesses hiring people just on the spot, not even doing background checks. So these are all the mistakes, but how do you have proper, tools basically, or either in personal or software to do these tasks for you, right? Like you go to a lawyer or you hire somebody in the HR to do that process and say, okay, I'm hiring this person, do these proper checks, or I'm getting this software. Okay, what are the sites that I can go through to check it myself? Or talk to somebody like Michelle and say, okay, Michelle, I'm trying to get this software. Is it good for my business or not, right? So it's all bringing those pieces together. And that kind of happens over the time through lessons and mentoring. And that's where I made mentoring a huge part right after COVID. Like with a lot of clients, it's all about look at your systems overall as a business. And then if you're not making right decisions, then you got to get some help personally to make those right decisions for your business.
Right. So in an ideal world, everybody holds these things in. They'll take proactive action on it. Some of them go, hey, do you have 6 months, capital to be able to run? And they're like, yeah, absolutely. I did 4 months ago. So if they find themselves in that circumstance, what can they do now to kind of get them? Like you mentioned Stephen Covey, and what are the urgent things they need to do? They're all going to say, I need sales, or I need more leads to get more sales. But really, when it comes to, is there something kind of mentally that needs to happen before they attack on the business side of things?
The mindset is key, right? Like how much you desire that success and also how hungry you are to create that success. And we all motivated by different reasons through entrepreneurship. Sometimes it's success, sometimes it's family time, the freedom, sometimes it's joy and happiness. Sometimes I want to retire early so I can do more nonprofit stuff. So it all varies for everybody, but it's all comes down to the systems and tools and being aware of what happens. And I didn't know when I started, I was a programmer, but I was taking the courses, or I had mentors throughout the years, and learning through their expertise and knowing what needs to be done way ahead. And it's not rocket science. Like 90% of the business can be automated, and then the 10% of changes that comes in and out, you can manage it. But being aware and being ready makes huge difference. And most business owners are not even aware that something like that can happen. And this is where the mentors come in. Let's look at your business blueprint and say what's happening here. Looking at the cash flow, we're looking at the team. I mean, right now everybody's stressed out bringing people to work, and it's a problem all across the board. But if you treated those employees right and you build that loyalty and relationships pre-COVID, they will still come back and support you. All of a sudden it becomes a family.
Nice. So in what your work and what you do, you're not only mentoring them, you're actually helping them get the work done. Yes.
Yeah.
So talk to me about so you're going in, you're working with somebody, you're looking at their business as a whole. Is there kind of this magic pill of social media first, SEO first, websites first? Like, how do you tackle the beast of where do we start and what's most important?
The biggest thing I learned is every business is different. Every business has certain goals. Like, some of the coaches that I work with, they're in the 300 to 500K range per year, but they build their courses, they sold it, but there's no repetition happening there, right? Everybody's signing up for that one course and going away. But how do you add more products, like an in-person event or more courses, or creating products around it while you're growing, right? I mean, think of it, Amazon. Huge company, everybody knows. If Amazon is still keep selling books today, it's not Amazon today, right? So they realize the need to add more product and create the product cycle. So you're adding more products, right? Like for a client like that, okay, let's identify more products because you already have the customers. It's just about selling more to the same customer. But if a customer that's kind of like starting over, a business that's brand new, they need to build a loyalty, they need to build a brand awareness, they need to build their customer base before they can do anything. So what kind of tools do you use? Are you going to use social media? Are you going to use Google? For a lot of clients, I advise them, Google is expensive for you right away. So how do you build that brand loyalty using social media, or even good old in-person events? Right? Invite them for a wine and cheese events, and you already know like probably 500 people in the city. So why don't we just bring your friends, create an event, create lots of content around it, then go after social media, right? So every business is different, but I think recognizing the bottlenecks in terms of the business operations and product availability and whatnot, to how do you leverage that to get more customers using either Google or Facebook? It's just all different for different customers.
Nice, love it. Is there, you mentioned Google right off the bat, and typically I will go, don't do that. Because to me, Google ads are something that once you have conversion and you know that you have a market, you know that somebody's interested in buying it, or somebody was interested in buying it, and you know that kind of your warm market, people that know you and like you will do business with you, then you can go into that cold market, because oftentimes the marketing is different when you're trying to entice a cold market to go in and buy your things. But is there a way to be able to, if somebody has the money, to be able to just go, hey, let's just start this with Google because it's faster? Or where are you with that?
Yeah, I always look at the personas, right? Like, who is your ideal customer persona? And, we get the demographics and their habits and then behavior. And, both Facebook and Google allows you to build those audience lists to really see the keywords that are going to be. I mean, at the end of the day, I'll look at the return on investment. Okay, we're spending X amount here. Are we getting like 2X or 3X from Google Ads? And one of the things with Google Ads is everybody's there, everybody's aiming for it. What I have seen is this is like basic on a one with the sales. Everybody goes for the low hanging fruit, that 5% ready to buy. Right. And yes, you probably need focus on that because you're making instant money and your campaigns are live overnight and you're getting some customers and you're setting up the conversions. So tweak it and you get more business out of it. But the 5%, they're ready. So you're addressing that issue. But the 45%, usually they're ready in the next 3 to 6 months. That's kind of average, no matter what product it is. If somebody's buying a car or house, like the big ticket items, they take time, the research happens, but how do you engage with them? You can use Google display ads, so you can use social media, and it's all about the awareness. So it's about like, if somebody calls you, Michelle, I'm trying to sell this software. But if the conversation changes to, hey, Michelle, this is Krishna here. Hey, I saw that you engaged with my ads and you saw the brand on somewhere. So it gets easier because you're becoming familiar with the brand already. So how do you build and nurture those lists? And one basic rule for all our clients is Google might die one day, Facebook might die one day. So as MySpace, like everybody else gone, like, now with ChatGPT and Bing. So there are a lot of things happening. I tell my clients, build your own customer list. If you're in a city of like 100,000 people, do you at least have 10 to 15%? That's kind of like, where it kind of plateaus out with any market. If you don't have that many in your email list or in your text marketing, that's where you focus on. Everything else can go, but you have direct access to your customer. And that's how we build a list and then cut down in the advertising campaigns. So you just use that money somewhere else, right?
So did you say 10 to 15% of your urban population? So if you live in a city with 1 million people, you want to have 5% of that in your database.
Yeah, like, if you look at any product life cycle, even with Apple, 13% is the average, like when it plateaus out, and that's when when you can just make a huge success or kind of it's not going to happen. But that's kind of like the baseline. So if I'm starting a new business, introducing a new product, that's when whether you can go above or below. So just having that baseline helps really to see what's happening.
Nice. So if somebody's not at that point, what kind of things can they do to be able to build that up, and ideally build it up in a way that it's their ideal clients and that they're looking at?
It's all Facebook. I love Facebook for that. I mean, even though I hate Mark Zuckerberg, I'm saying it out so that we might not get that much.
Shameless plug for Facebook.
Because you really want to know, like you really narrow it down with your demographics. And if the product is already there and it's kind of, so I'll use the example of thermal flasks, right? Like, they made a huge success and become a multi-million-dollar company, but that product didn't exist because nobody knows about it. So they had a huge uphill, and they used TikTok and other social media platforms just to kind of zazz up, and then they got listed on Amazon, run the Amazon ads and whatnot. So that's a new product being introduced to the markets, versus if you're opening another grocery store, your strategy would be different because you're really not introducing any new products. You're just telling everybody you have another venue to buy your products. So it's again, like, even though it's social media, the way you approach is different based on whether it's new product versus existing.
Nice. So when it comes to social media and marketing right now, I've noticed, and my peers we've had many conversations, but the silliness with it marketing is right now. Do people have to go to the silly and the shallow and the inane in order to get noticed? Or if somebody has a more conservative business and approach, is it possible to still differentiate themselves without that?
Like for TikTok, it became like entertainment and education type that really is working. And I'm kind of like a old generation guy. Like, it doesn't make sense. It's too cringy or too cheesy, but those are the ones like really going viral.
They really go wild. They are. And
yeah, like
I can't imagine my tax accountant working on TikTok, but at the same time, they'd probably get a bunch of likes because it'd be like, that's weird.
Yeah, the creative side definitely kind of helping a lot of these people because the content creators are going to be here, right? Like with the chat GPT, everything is changing a bit, but the creators are going to be here. And the way I see it is, remember that reality shows that we see on TV, like, something happening like the Big Brother or some of these shows.
Yeah.
Now everybody's life became a reality show like that on social media.
Right.
And they have the tools to talk about what they're doing. They're building their own brand and own persona and creating these audiences who go crazy for them. And, is there a substance to it? Nothing. But if they introduce a product, it sells. I have two examples there. I don't know if you know the Prime drinks. They went viral on TikTok, and it seemed like a Monster Red Bull type of drink.
Yeah.
They were being sold for like $10, $15 per bottle. And this is through retail stores. I couldn't believe my eyes. Like, what is this with it, right? And I was telling my kids, hey, it's not worth it. So they, it's out of their pocket elements. And I'm like, so they didn't get it. But last week we actually saw it for $5 at a store. And my daughter like, Dad, can I get it? I'm like, okay, whatever. At least she's like, I'm saving $10. That's her convincing pitch to me, right? So I'm not spending $15, I'm spending $5. I'm like, okay. And she tasted it and she's like, Dad, it tastes like medicine. And she didn't drink it. And I'm like, see, this is what the marketing is about. Like, with TikTok, somebody pushed it.
Oh, that's funny.
Yeah, once the product is over, either somebody like Pepsi or Coke would buy them because it's so good, because it has the audience. And
doesn't it have to taste good though? Or is it under the guise of, but it's good for you?
It has the same caffeine, same B12, like just same as Monster, but it's just the perception of that demographics, like the 13 to 16 is like, everybody's showing this to me on TikTok and I want to do it. And I think they're all missing like the good old days of going out and socializing versus if I don't have it, the fear of missing out. I need to talk about this. So my friends will say, hey, this is what she did.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
And so does it matter in that respect? Because the fear of missing out, I think, is very much a younger generation thing. Is it still important, even if I'm going out on, say Facebook, but I know that's an older demographic, typically on Facebook. Like, am I going for a different emotional attachment, I guess is really what I'm looking for. Because the prestige of something doesn't seem to be kind of what the younger generation is going after, but the fear of missing out, definitely, absolutely.
Well, a lot of products work on fear of missing out, right? Like, as soon as the Fashion Week happens, you start seeing all these brands putting their products out, right? And they're just targeting whoever attend the Fashion Week and follow. So they have their own demographics and everybody wants to say, I have that. And they make it in limited quantities, right? Like when you go and buy a top brand wallet, it's like $3,000, right? So it's just the fear of missing out is always there. But also with individual creators, what's happening is like the Logan Paul, Jake Paul, and like Mr. Beast, right? Anybody today can create their own content and go viral and then create products out of it. When Mr. Beast's popularity kind of soared up and everybody was talking about him, he's like, here's the Mr. Beast pizza, here's the Mr. Beast burger. And some of the franchises actually licensed that, what do you call it? I mean, it's a burger, but the recipe to have it available at their stores.
Wow.
Right? It's crazy and mind-blowing. So the power of bigger brands are being kind of shifted towards the individual creators that are creating this. And how do you apply that to a tax accountant or financial advisor? I think personally in 5 years, the jobs are going to go away with the AI, the way it's kind of growing. All you had to do is say yes or no, and then you have this done for you. And it's just kind of automated that way. But how do you survive through this is offering that financial education, but also in an entertaining way. Like there are a lot of financial advisors talk about becoming your own bank, right? How do you live a life of like rich people, but also have your money stored in a wealth fund and then use that to your expenses, and then you can pay it back when you die, right? Like there are different strategies. This is all the rich people do. And apparently that's how a lot of teaching is happening. And also the way you travel is changed, right? Like, okay, private jets used to be the craze of everything, but there are companies who started around, hey, you don't have to rent the entire jet. Like we have these empty legs where you can just hop on and pay maybe 3 times more, right? Otherwise they're going back empty. So it's kind of like the overflow planes. So every business is being shifted at different levels and being individualized for each person, which is crazy. And I don't know, like there will be a day our personal robot just knows everything. You license your avatar and they know what you want. Oh, Krishna ran out of the bathroom, so let's order it, or he needs some bananas, the fridge is empty, right? And I think the shift is happening, but the timeline is just depends on the innovation and availability of technology.
So do you work with companies to help them to innovate what kind of products they can have? So say they have a good social media presence and you've worked with them, they've racked it up, they're doing awesome. And then all of a sudden it's like, hey, you're actually at a pinnacle right now. You need to have a product to sell people. Do you work with them to create that and kind of figure out what innovative ways they can monetize on that?
Yeah, totally. A lot of businesses don't recognize the value of like the CRMs, like customer relationship management systems, or even the lead nurturing platforms, right? Most often they have like a MailChimp, a lot of businesses don't use HubSpot and all these top-tier tools, right? So,
MailChimp.
Yeah. And how do you automate some of these processes when you're there? For example, there is a client, they already have about 50,000 customers on their database, and 80% of their business comes from these existing customers. And basically, it's kind of like a recurring vitamins that intake they have, and you just kind of automate the whole process. But also recognizing that need for e-commerce stores, like COVID did a huge shift for a lot of businesses. They had some kind of store or phone in order, like even for restaurants as well. Like, you could go online. Okay, I need this. I need butter chicken for tonight. Can you come and pick it up? But everything became online menus, and you can order it, pick it up, and there's no involvement of anybody else there. And the shift kind of like accelerated with COVID. And also when I talk about e-commerce, there were business selling like less than 20 products, just using like WooCommerce or something like that, right? But as soon as COVID hit, they need to sell everything online. A perfect example, a pet store franchisee that we work with, they have the POS and they have online website. They never sold anything online. But when we look at the POS and how to program that bridge to have that inventory available online, no Shopify, no WooCommerce, no Equate, none of them was compatible, because the POS they're using is almost like 20 years it was in its existence. So you had to customize that and make this 8,000 products available online, so people are buying online and doing the curbside pickup. So these are little things, and I think looking at overall business and say, okay, I'm doing $1 million a year, but based on the benchmark, I can do $2-3 million in the next year, 5 years. If you look at the 10% increase, over 5 years, you can double your business. So if I'm going to be there, I need more people, I need more systems, but how do I automate most of these so I can manage with less people? Because the cost of software is cheaper compared to a human doing the same tasks. And those things change for every business, but looking at the fundamentals of it, where I want to be numbers wise, what is missing right now, and how do I bring the tools and personnel into the business?
Nice, love that. So is when you're working with somebody, what would you say is your favorite part of your business?
Favorite part of the business? I think the cash flow.
Nice. Good
And
answer. I like that one.
yeah, I think everybody loves to have the cash flow, and that gives you the freedom to do what you want, right? But not a lot of businesses think through the cash flow. They just look at the balance sheet. Okay, I made money or I lost money. Personally, I enjoy overall business, like the operations through technology, because I was a programmer, but I grew up learning the marketing aspect of it and kind of made my business with ROI MediaWorks. So I love marketing because it's kind of changing as an ongoing basis. And I think you're setting up for a new challenge almost like literally every day. Tomorrow you wake up and say,
Exactly.
hey, ChatGPT took it over, so we don't need content creators anymore. Or, Midjourney took over all the graphic designers. So that's the world we're living in. So you're kind of stepping up every single day. And I think I'm kind of person, I like to take the challenges head on and say, let's make things happen.
I love it. So give us an example of a Cinderella story of one of your clients.
Cinderella story. So I'll go back to like when I started ROI MediaWorks, brand new to the city I moved in Canada. About a year I was working for a company here. And one of my best friends, she's like, Krishna, I have this women group. They're all really good business people because they have lots of ideas, but they don't know how to implement it. And everybody has a business idea. Everybody wants to do something when they, see an obstacle. Oh, why don't somebody create this type of straw or this type of shoe, right? But where the entrepreneurs make a difference is, okay, I'm going to take action towards it and create it. So she invited me to speak to a group of, I think, 20 women that's have various ideas or already started or a business. And one of the ladies, she had a nail salon business. If you're in LA or Vegas or everywhere, you see 20 of them on the strip, right? What differentiates a nail salon compared to anybody else? And she was actually working at a table at a, the tanning places, like the tanning, she wants
Tanning salon, yeah.
Yeah, so she was renting a table and whoever, okay, while you wait for your tan, I'll do your nails. But she realized there is a certain product type that really blends well with the nails. And, there is, there are some cancer issues, whatnot with certain products, like the chemicals being used. So she found a product that's really, she can work with, like being very creative, but also it's healthy for for her customers. So in 4 years, she went from that desk to employing 16 people.
Nice.
It's huge up curve. Every time I talk to her, oh, I'm adding this. So she started adding jewelry. She started bringing new merchandise along her brand. But unfortunately, just before COVID, she gave up.
Why?
I have no idea. Like, it's a huge success, making money, but I know she is not a business person to the core. Very nice lady, cares about everybody. So, sometimes when you don't hire the right people, they take advantage of you financially, but also create problems with your customers. She's like, I'm done.
Well, it makes me so sad.
I was very sad. I convinced her, let's make this happen and find somebody to buy it over.
Right?
Yeah. It's just
the pain.
And I think she's at a point that she was completely lost that passion she had when she started over. I mean, her goals were, I want to have $1 million house and, my husband is home. I'm home in the evening. So she shut it down and went back to her house, built a saloon in the basement, just lean and slim, and maybe she's making.
That's when you want to sell it, and then you can go and do it. The startups again. I think there's this misunderstanding in business, and I'm going to say it again, peeps, you need to hear this. If you're the kind of entrepreneur that loves to start things, That's okay. There is nothing wrong with it. That is fantastic. If you've always gotten in crap because you never finish anything, that's okay. You're just a certain sort of entrepreneur, and the world needs you to start businesses. As soon as your business starts getting boring and predictable, and you're making money and it starts to suck, that's when you sell it to somebody who doesn't like to start things. They just like to take them and make them more streamlined, and they like to make things better, and they cross T's and they dot I's, and that's what they do. And then when they start to get sick of their business, they sell it to somebody that's just going to throw money at it, and it's going to make more money. And then they're going to sell it to somebody else that just wants to use it as part of their business and doesn't want to touch it. There are 4 different stages of business, and you need to know that. Do not just walk away from a successful business. It makes me cry.
Yeah, it's a great story, but also sad ending. The reason I shared that with you, audience, be aware of it, right? Like, not a lot of businesses know that they can actually sell the business because they never built value around the brand. All they look at is, oh, I have some products here. Who is going to give me $300,000 or $400,000, right? But how do you build a value? The value is in the brand. The value is in the customers that you already have. The value is in the longevity of the business that you operated, because it's going to create that profits for the new business owner. That's one business, but there is another company, Hawaii Experiences. They sell tours for the visitors. And when we first jumped on board as an agency, it's 80% of their customers are Japanese customers.
Cool.
And their website is in English.
We just wrote this for us. Don't worry about it. You don't need to see what we're doing.
Right.
Just because you're the one paying us, then it's all irrelevant. Yeah,
there was a Japanese splash page, but this just wasn't enough. It's a great business. And the business went like 7-fold. We kind of changed everything, made 100% Japanese, and there's a little link for English tours. And the software they're using evolved over the time as well, which does the auto translations based on the browser settings in the language and whatnot. It's the business has grown like 700% over the 9 years. How do you replicate that success, right? Like this one businesswoman, she's always hungry to create more. So she invests, when you are buying a new boat, it's, $500,000, right? Like, not a lot of people want to write that check, but she does, because she has seen her success, and I want to do more of it. So every entrepreneur is different, but knowing when you're giving up, either you bring in the new people or try to sell it to somebody else. And at the end of the day, it's the legacy, created something out of nothing. And I created my lifestyle and also my livelihood around this, but also helped a lot of other businesses at the same time. So it becomes like your family and your community. And when you shut the doors down, basically you're saying bye to your family and just kind of packing up.
Yeah, no, don't do that. Awesome. So other than somebody thinking about closing the doors and packing up, what are some of the stumbling blocks that somebody might be having right now? And they're thinking, oh my God, Krishna, I need you so badly.
I think most businesses realize the strain when it comes to the money and the people, two core things. Money in the sense the sales are not happening as they should, or they're having the sales, but not enough team members to support the growth. And, there are 2 pillars, there are other pillars in the business, but they're very critical in terms of scaling the business, but also looking at where you will be in the next 5-10 years. For my agency, for example, all our leads come through inbound, something we practiced and perfected it over 10 years, download this PDF or check your SEO score, right? We're giving something of value, so they're downloading something. I could have added a sales team alongside to do the traditional sales, but it just wasn't part of our business model. So we moved all the budgets to online advertising because at the end of the day, that's what we do as a business. So we 100% went on the inbound marketing, but that's not probably the same for a mom and pop store that needs more team members. For example, a restaurant, it's hard to find good employees, knows that customer service lives up to the brand, and also the core values are there. So when do you hire them, right? So I look at it like, in 6 months, there's cash flow there. And these are the prospects. Like when you look at your CRM, okay, these are tier 1 leads, tier 2, tier 3. Okay, this is kind of 8% close rate from all of that. And I'm going to have X amount of money. So I want to bring a new person. And these decisions has to happen way before, because when you bring a new employee, you need to train, you need to get them climatized for your environment with your team. And that has to happen as well. And for the sales, you always want to have 4 levels of leads that are always coming through. Somebody might not be ready, but they will in a couple of years, with the way websites are changing or the apps are evolving. Everybody needs a new build or redesign at some point. So where do you put them in your basket, right? Like it's the perfect example. You go to grocery store, you have 10 different types of apples. They're not in the same basket, they're in different baskets, but you always go for your favorite because you like that apple. So that favorite apple, think of it as a customer that's ready to pay you, but you always want to build the other baskets of apples, the customers that could be ready and be a prospect in the near future.
I love it. So I know our listeners are going to want more from you. How did they start their journey with you?
They can check out my website, lakkineni.com, LAKKINENI.com, or I'm on all social media channels. It's VK Lakkineni, LAKKINENI. Happy to help anybody that's in that bottleneck stage or growth scale stages of the business.
Love it. We will, of course, have all of your links in the show notes. So peeps, just scroll down and click on Krishna's links to find his sites and be able to go from the marketing side of things, the mindset side of things, and a whole lot more. So awesome. Krishna, at what point in your life did you know that you're especially kind of crazy enough to think that you could become an entrepreneur?
I was 17 actually when I wrote my list. I didn't even realize that there's manifestation lists and things like that. And I wanted to have my own business. Like I was always the loner that's kind of trying to get things done. But I didn't have the knowledge or the tools. And then I started working for somebody in England, and then worked here for a year. And then I was 30 and I'm like, I'm 30. And if I'm not doing it now, when I'm going to do it? And that was kind of like a trigger point, because one of my professors told me the life is into 3 30s, basically first 30 years, second 30, and the last 30 years. And whatever you work on and perfect in the first 30 years, the next 30 years, you're going to make your life out of that. You don't switch careers or try to learn something new. So that was really stuck in my mind. And I'm like, yeah, I got to start my business. But like for anybody starting over, age is not a factor. I mean, if you're in the older demographics, there's definitely a lot of wealth and knowledge that younger generations can use to perfect their businesses, right? Like I know a lot of entrepreneurs, they sell their business, they don't do anything. Like I don't know anything else, but you have run 10 franchises over 25 years. So there are a lot of franchises that are struggling. Use your knowledge to tell them how to run this business, right? So there's always something that can be fine, but it's just all comes down to the time and the personal passion.
Nice. I love it. Love it. You've been absolutely awesome. Any last words for our peeps?
I suggest everybody take that idea and run with it. Don't be afraid. You might fail, 10 times or 20 times, but there's always that one idea that kind of just sprouts your growth, and you will be in the limelight and you will enjoy it, but also that makes you humble with your beginnings, and then you start giving back.
I love it. Love it. Love it. Thank you so much for your time. I appreciate it. And I know how valuable it is.
Thank you, Michelle. Thanks for having me. It's an awesome conversation.
Awesome. Peeps, thank you for being here with us today. Be sure to subscribe to the show and share it with your friends. We love helping entrepreneurs grow.
Are you running a business over 7 figures but still struggling with technology headaches? Pay attention, you do not want to miss this offer. This podcast episode is brought to you by Awareness Strategies, who is offering a custom-built digital adoption roadmap for anyone running a business over 7 figures who's wanting to grow their business in the next 5 years. And it's not just a roadmap, they offer full implementation as well if that scares the out of you. Check out awarenessstrategies.com/roadmap for more details today. The link's in the show's notes. Don't regret not doing this. Do it now. That's awarenessstrategies.com/roadmap.